What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening to the overall market so far approaching CPI, and what you should be watching for as time progresses. But before I break anything down all this information, before I get into any more details about the markets and what you should be watching for, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. Offer ends in 2 days. Check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market and Tesla. So, looking at Tesla this far, Tesla's actually up about 4.4%, holding up quite nicely off some good news from the morning. However, Tesla's testing this resistance at 225. In that zone, we have some tight resistance, and that's what's slowing Tesla down for the time being. However, on SPY, we also have resistance in the 441 zone, between 441 and the other level above that, since we have a trend line to be watching for. So we're going to be watching, can the market break out more or not going into tomorrow? Now, what I personally did is I actually took a lot of profits, almost all profits, on my options, on my trades, and I'm not going to be holding much overnight. That is not financial advice, it's simply what I'm doing. And the logic behind this comes from uncertainty, right? Because we have some new data coming out and we don't know what it's going to be looking like. So there are two main pieces of data for tomorrow. One piece of data that's going to be kind of minor for the US markets would be the European GDP growth rate numbers. They're not going to be that crazy, not that huge in terms of their effect for the markets. However, what's going to be even more impactful is going to be CPI an hour before the market opens. We're going to be watching to see if this causes some kind of reversal or not, and if this causes any new changes from the Fed's policies. This is going to be very important because if we get a hot CPI, the Fed could give us one more rate hike. That could cause the market to slow down. So we're going to be watching this very carefully to see how it goes. As far as Tesla goes, we have some good news that has come out. There have been massive branches of the Cybertruck casting spotted at Giga Texas. This is great news because we're seeing more popularity in Texas, and with the Cybertruck continuing to make headlines, it's just very exciting. Now, the Cybertruck initially is not going to bring in like insane profits for Tesla. It's going to be a big liability for them just to get this on the tracks. But that's the same for most EVs out there, right? If you're starting an EV company, if you're building a new model, typically they're not going to be profitable too quickly on. And that's one of the things that Elon Musk has warned investors about. However, what's good about the Cybertruck would be the fact that this could help boost revenue, at least for the time being. We could see quite a few sales for them. We're going to be watching to see how it looks and when their first deliveries happen. And the Cybertruck launch event could be a very bullish catalyst for the next few weeks. We'll be watching to see how Tesla performs approaching that. But that's been good news so far. I also talked about this in the morning. If you want more details, you can just watch my morning video. But I mentioned that Tesla signed a deal with the second gas station operator to sell its supercharger directly. That's great news for Tesla, continuing to gain exposure and to find more ways to boost its sales for its different products. So great news for Tesla. I'm very excited to see how this goes. But now the question remains, what's going to happen to the market? How is the market looking? I do have one concern for the markets, okay, for the bulls. There's one thing that concerns me. That's going to be these technicals right here. So SPY and the QQQ have a tendency of dictating the entire flow of the market and being dictated by these algorithms. The same algorithms, they affect Tesla, and that's why it's going to be important to dissect these charts. So the thing that concerns me is the fact that as SPY is pumping higher, it's awesome to see bulls stepping in. They're continuing to defend, but the RSI is continuing to drop lower. When this happens, this shows us that the bearish divergence, the triple bearish divergence on SPY right now on the 4-hour time frame, it has not been validated. It's still valid. It's still getting stronger. And this suggests that there's going to likely be downside in the future. Now, it doesn't mean we have to drop immediately. We could drop from here, or we could get one more pop and then drop. So it all depends on how we end up reacting to the levels and CPI. On the 1-hour time frame and the 30 minutes time frames, we have a quadruple bearish divergence, which tends to be quite bearish. So there's a risk to the downside. I want everyone to just be very careful. And this could lead to even more selling pressure. So you want to be very careful with how this ends up playing out. And you just want to be watching these charts carefully. So what is my risk for everyone? What is my warning for everyone out there? My warning is that we have some bearish signals suggest that there could possibly be downside. However, I'm not going to be risking way too much money on this because it really depends on CPI. That's going to be more impactful. I would rather just wait and be seeing what the data looks like, be very certain before anything else. All right, so I'm going to be watching this data, and if you want to just take profits, you have 1 hour left for the trading day. If you want to take profits, it's your choice. My job here is just to warn you about that. So what about CPI? How could this affect the markets? It's very simple. I mean, if SPY breaks out, if we get a bullish CPI, if CPI is lower than expected, if we break 441 on SPY and we end up breaking this trend line of resistance, let me just show you where the trend line is before I talk about it. Basically, if we break this trend line, 444 is coming next. That's the next level on SPY. If we break this 441 zone, where this white trend line is, if we break this, if we reject from where we are and CPI ends up being hotter than expected, the market may fear that the Fed is going to raise rates again, and this could lead to SPY selling off towards 438. If we lose that, 436 is coming. There's going to be a big move to the downside from there. For Tesla, it's going to be impacted by the entire market and CPI. A bullish CPI could launch Tesla even higher to the next level, very close to 227. But just know that Tesla has tight resistance right here as it rejected in the past. If we get a hot CPI, Tesla could also reject from here and start sinking below 220 all over again. Now, even if that is the case, even if Tesla comes down, it's not the end of the world because the much bigger picture is still bullish thanks to this accumulation and this inverse head and shoulders. So just because we have an inverse head and shoulders, it doesn't mean Tesla is going to launch forever. It doesn't mean it has to launch right now. Tesla could still come back down to 212, bounce off it and just go sideways for like another week, and then still break out. And this, inverse head and shoulders could still play out even if Tesla's sideways for a while. I just want to warn you all because even if we do get a small little pullback thanks to CPI, Tesla could still run later on during the month going into December. All right, I want to be as clear as possible on this. Temporary downside's a possibility, but the medium term still looks bullish for the chart. For Nvda, we're at resistance between 488 and 490. We're going to be watching that very carefully to see if Nvidia rejects. If we get this rejection very close to 490 off the bearish divergence that's developing, this could lead to Nvidia sinking to get very close to like 482. If we break out of it, we could get very close to 500. That's like the more bullish case on Nvidia. We'll be watching to see. It depends on CPI. We have a bearish divergence on Nvidia. However, we have almost like a double. This is almost a triple actually. Bearish divergence on the hourly, which suggests that Nvidia might see some downside. So just to be safe, make sure you watch the charts and we'll see what happens with CPI. And then for a couple of other tickers like Aapl, for bullish, watch it break 185 and start pushing for 186.5 plus. For bearish, you want to see it lose the 1 hour, or even the 30 minutes 50 EMA. I think it tends to be better. If we lose this EMA, we're going to be watching 184. If we lose that, 183.5 is coming. And last but not least, we have the QQQ. If we're bullish, thanks to CPI, watch 378 break. If we break it, then 380 is coming. If we're bearish, you want to see it lose 377.3 and then 376. If we lose this 50 EMA, you can see we kind of came below it. This is just another liquidity grab before they pushed it back up. If we actually lose the 50 EMA, we don't just like bounce back above it like we did today. We just break it. This thing could start sinking to lower levels like 374 and levels like that. So it all depends on CPI, basically. I think it's risky, so it doesn't make sense for me to go way too hard on different positions, and that's why I'm taking very minor positions from this point. So I'll be waiting to see how it goes. The risk is to the downside after the CPI, looking at the current technicals, but just to be safe, wait and see what the data tells you. And if you want to take profits, right, it's your choice. It's all up to you guys. It's it could be risky. I just want to warn you that you have 1 hour left. Take profits if you want to. If not, it's all up to you. All right, so have a great day. I'll see you guys very soon for the final video of the day, and peace out.